The research shows that resilient people do better in every area of life. They cope better with mental health issues like depression and anxiety, with health crises, as well as money problems. And they do way better in all their relationships, including romance, work, and parenting. So today I'm teaching you the 4 ways to be more resilient so you can be happier in all your relationships. So stay tuned. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm so happy you're here. You know, this is my favorite part of the week when I do the podcast. Thank you all for your emails, writing in. First of all, thank you for your reviews of the podcast too. I read them. I love them. I appreciate them. Keep those coming. More people find us when there's more reviews. And I've been enjoying on YouTube, people leave comments under the videos and I'm able to comment on those really easily, say hi back or whatever, always helpful. And know that, today I'm talking about resilience because people have written in and asked me about it. And so when enough of you write in, I think, this is like a critical mass thing. People really want to learn about this. I talked about resilience way back in, I think, season 2 of the podcast, but we are here in almost ending season 6. Oh! I love that I've been here with you for so long. It fills my heart. I start crying, so I'm not going to think too much about it because I have to talk, but it really fills my heart that we've been here together so long. I know some of you have been listening because you write to me since the beginning, for years, and others say it's the highlight of the week. It's the highlight of my week when I get those. It literally makes my day when I get these beautiful emails or comments or reviews or any of those things. It feels really, really good. So let's jump in. As I just said, so I'm just going to repeat that a little bit, that resilient people really do better in every area of their lives. So again, from money to health, fertility, again, child rearing, romance, work, mental health, PTSD, depression, anxiety. There's research on all of it. There's also lots of research showing that even after experiencing tragedies and hardships, resilient people report better relationships, more self-confidence and strength, even in those times when they're feeling exposed and vulnerable. They report a more developed spirituality, an increased sense of self-worth, and really an overall appreciation for life. So you're going to want to be resilient. You're going to want to listen today. And I have so many free things for you other than this, which is free. You got to listen to some ads, but give me a break, okay? Not much compared to what you get. I have a lot of things to point you to today to help you deepen what I'm going to teach, okay? So get ready, buckle up, buttercup. Here we go. So let's start with, what is resilience exactly? What are you talking about, Abby? What the heck is it? Well, let me tell you. Resilience is a skill. What do I say about everything? Listening is a skill. Communication is a skill. You're not born with it. You're not born with this certain resilience. You, like any skill, you learn it, and it has some main components like any other skill. And the more you practice and get good at those core components, the more resilient you'll be. So psychologists define resilience as the process of adapting well in the face of adversity, trauma, tragedy, threats, or significant sources of stress, like, family or relationship problems, serious health problems, workplace, financial stressors, any of those. That's how we define it. And to me, the real win with resilience isn't just the ability to bounce back, but the way you'll grow and learn from the tough crap that happens in life. Stuff's going to happen. It's not an if, it's a when. And so it's not just like, I can bounce back really quick, which of course is such a good thing, but it's also the way you come back. Bigger, better, brighter, stronger. So that you can really look back and see these things as not things you'd wish on yourself. No one's going to wish this on themselves, but as a means of learning. I just saw interview recently with Ed Sheeran, the musician, where he said, he was repeating, which gets said a lot, that you learn nothing from success. You learn from failure. And it's true. It's what you do with that. Resilience helps me get through the next tough thing, right? And it'll help you too, because you'll learn to remember that you've gotten through a hard thing before. So that means you can do it again. When we have just depression or anxiety without the resilience, even though maybe you got through something depressing previously or some anxiety previously that you worked through, what I find is my clients forget those very easily. I'll say, yeah, but you went through this before. Remember, you've already had a breakup and you did so well. Remember all the things you learned. And they're like, no, this is different. And here's why. And it's not the same. It's like it didn't put money in the bank for them. Those previous wins, those previous, times of getting through something really hard, they don't use it as a springboard for the next thing. When you develop resilience, you do. And yes, you get better at that. You will take the past and really hold it with you in a good way. Being resilient, by the way, I want to be really clear, isn't about ignoring the bad and just focusing on the good at all. It is, I'm going to repeat that. This isn't some Pollyanna bullshit like, hey, life is great and that's all I see. That's not resilience. That's not what I'm talking about. Resilience is about leveraging your negative thoughts and feelings and creating some positive adaptations, some positive behaviors, things, some way that you do it different to the negative stuff that will, not if, eventually happen. So, it's when your butt got too big for your pants, but instead of getting depressed, you get fired up to start working out harder because you can change it. Or you start enjoying your juicy booty and happily go buy some bigger pants. That's resilience too. It's when you argue with your partner for the hundredth time about their drinking, but instead of feeling hopeless that nothing will ever change, you get to therapy yourself and you start going to Al-Anon, let's say. It's when your boss is an asshole again, and instead of entering a downward spiral of despair, you think about what you need to learn from this relationship and you start working on your resume like to tweak, Mark Manson, very famous author. He has, I think, my all-time favorite quote about resilience. So we want to give him some love. He says, it's turning lemonades into a fucking pina colada. I just think it's very well said, Mark. Okay. So what are the 4 components of resilience? Well, there are many components to resilience. I want to say that, but there are 4 components that are mentioned in the research. And you all know I link to all the research on the show notes page on the website, abbymedcalf.com. Look under podcast to this podcast. There's a corresponding relationship tips and tools. There's a blog post under that page where I write a full article with all the links and all that. And or if you're watching me on YouTube, and I hope you like and subscribe and notice my new haircut, that you can look under the video and all of that is there. And by the way, if you're on YouTube listening, my shop is up. Yes, all the fabulous things that are on my website under the shop page, most of them now are on YouTube, and you can just you can click below, and there's lots of free things there as always, which I'll mention many of in the broadcast today. And of course, you can get yourself an inspirational mug or a fabulous notebook to write all your great notes in, or any other way you can, love and support the cause here. Buy my books, all the things. But as always, plenty of free resources. I always say you don't have to spend a penny with me if you don't have it. If you'd like to give back or you'd like a little something, then you can get that too. All right. So all that research is, again, mentioned because, I want you to create more resilience in your life. And if you're someone who likes to read it for yourself, I always have it there for you. Okay. So 4 things. Here's number 1 is connection. The quality of your connection to others is one of the best predictors of resiliency in children and adults from the research. Connecting to other people is resiliency glue. Yes, resiliency glue. The quickest and easiest way to connect with someone is to focus on, I think, is to focus on bids. And I've talked before about bids in episode 195. I talk about the importance of bids in all your relationships, but I'm going to do a quick recap now. So again, I'll link to that episode in the show notes. And I also did a whole chapter on bids in my, can you say it with me? My Amazon #1 best-selling book, Be Happily Married, Even If Your Partner Won't Do a Thing. So I got stuff about bids everywhere for you. But bids are a term that was coined initially by researcher Dr. John Gottman, who, I love to talk about on the podcast. And bids are basically, as he explains them, an effort to connect with someone. Gottman calls them the fundamental unit of emotional communication, or bids. Once you understand what bids are, you'll realize that they've been happening all around you, but you haven't understood their significance. So here are quick examples. Let me give you some examples of bids, right? People's want to connect. Your kid yells, "Mommy, look, Daddy, watch me," right? That's a bid. Bid for your attention. Your partner holds your hand, grabs and holds your hand. Your friend asks you, "Hey, how did that conversation with your boss go?" These are all bids. Your coworker asks you to drinks after completing a big project. Your partner asks you to start planning a vacation with them. Your kid gets upset and throws something. All of these are bids for your attention. All of these asks or gestures, no matter how big or small, whether they're verbal or nonverbal, are attempts to connect with you. Your partner, kid, or friend is asking for your attention. Yes. When you're looking to connect, guess what? All these opportunities are all around you all the time. When your partner sighs out loud when looking at their emails, even if they don't realize they're doing this consciously, subconsciously, they're looking for your interest or support. They're looking to connect with you about this thing. When your mom comments that your dad is eating too much red meat, she's looking for a connection about something that's worrying her. When my wonderful Gary comments on a workout video he's watching, he's looking for me to show interest in this thing that interests him so he can feel closer to me. Again, it's not a conscious thought he's having. Oh, I want to feel closer to Abby, so I will watch this video on whatever and make a sound. No, but that is exactly what really is happening. Our subconscious rules us. I talk about that a lot on the podcast. And that is what's happening in those moments, those opportunities. And the bottom line is that no one is ever simply commenting on what they're looking at, or they're asking you a question on purpose. They're looking to engage with you. And because people are doing the best they can with the tools they have, and often their tools aren't so great, it's not always clear that they're looking to get closer. Many times these bids might seem like they're even trying to push you away or criticizing you, or maybe it's just what you take as criticism, but they're doing all these things in an effort to connect, sad as that sounds. Complaining is an effort to connect. Nagging is an effort to connect. These are all bids in their way, so it's what you do with that bid that counts. And remember, you're likely making bids yourself and you don't even realize it. You don't even know that's what you're doing. You send your mom an article to read. You send your best friend that funny cat video on YouTube. You make a move to have sex or cuddle on the couch with your partner, right? Or you suggest to a coworker that they should, hey, you should try out that pottery class I just finished. These are all your bids to connect with other people. I know you're not consciously thinking necessarily that idea, oh, I'm trying to connect, but that's what's happening. And in Gottman's research, he talks about 3 things you can do when someone makes a bid, these bids to connect, okay? So, for example, let's say you're, really engrossed in something on your computer, right? You're really into reading something, and your partner walks in the room and asks, hey, what do you want to do for dinner? So here's how you could respond to that bid in these three ways, right? You could turn what Gottman says, turning towards the bid. This would mean that you would stop what you're doing. You'd close your computer and you would give your partner your full attention and maybe have a little back and forth about dinner ideas. Oh, I don't know. What do you want to do? Or, right? You would turn towards it. Or you could tell your partner, I definitely want to talk about dinner. Just give me 5 minutes to finish this and I'll come find you. That is also turning towards the bid. It doesn't mean you have to stop everything you're doing every second, but it means that do you feel it? Like, I'm showing interest in this thing you say interests you. The second way you can deal with a bid is you can turn, what Gottman says again, is that you could turn away from the bid. And that would be that you'd ignore, in this case, you would ignore your partner completely and you wouldn't answer them. You would just keep in your computer. You wouldn't stop what you're doing. You wouldn't look up and say anything. Or you might even look up and say, oh, whatever you want is fine. I don't care. Whatever you want. That's turning away from a bid. That is not answering a bid. Another way to turn away from the bid is if you allow your attention to be easily diverted in the conversation. So if you're in a conversation with your partner and then your kid walks in and you allow the interruption, or maybe you're talking to your sister, but then your phone dings and you look at the notification, those are all turning away from a bid. Okay. So using something else, because what you're saying is whatever this thing is on my phone, it's more important than you. That is turning away from the bid. And then the third thing you can do with a bid is you can turn against the bid. And I would argue this is the worst of them. So you're looking at your computer, again, you're engrossed in your computer, your partner comes in and says, what would you like for dinner? And you say something like, why are you always bugging me when I'm right in the middle of something? Or maybe you give a heavy sigh and an eye roll, right? And then say, whatever you want is fine with me. There's just this negativity. It's hostile. It's also turning against the bid if you interrupt or change a subject when you're talking. So, if your partner starts asking you about something and you start talking about something else, it's not very nice. When you turn towards someone's bid, you're telling them you value them. One of the top complaints I hear in relationships is that someone doesn't feel heard or seen. And what they're really saying is they don't feel connected, obviously. And when you turn towards a bid, when you lean into a bid, you are connecting. And, there are, of course, many ways to connect besides bids. Those are just that's just the easiest thing I think you can do in any moment. I always say great relationships aren't built in a day. Great relationships are built daily. And they're built daily by answering bids all over the place and making bids yourself, making sure that you're making them and giving your partner, kids, coworkers, whoever, an opportunity to connect with you. But other ways to connect, you could think of volunteering. You could join a running group if you run, or do a meetup. For those of us, I'm a recovering heroin addict. I talk about all the friggin' time. Shut up, Abby, about that. There are always 12-step meetings, or there's other support groups depending on your particular struggle. Maybe it's time to start a book club. I don't care. Anything that'll bring you closer to people that you might care about. Go to your local temple, church, mosque, whatever. Get connected. There's many ways to do that. Okay, so that's number one, is connection. The second way to build resilience, again, from the research, is through your physical well-being. Feeling strong in your body and mind will absolutely help you feel more resilient. This doesn't mean you need to be some, CrossFit junkie who only eats bark and plain lettuce, but it does mean that you need to be respectful of your physical well-being. And this is a biggie. So eating junk food constantly isn't respectful of your physical well-being. Being so out of shape that you make lots of noise when you get off the couch isn't respectful of your physical well-being. And yes, I make noise every time I stand up because I'm old, damn it, but I try to be healthy and fit. Ignoring your need for sleep is not respectful to your physical well-being. Not taking breaks during the day and working nonstop is not respectful. Smoking isn't respectful. Drinking too much booze isn't respectful. Do you see what I'm saying? Really think about it. Again, doesn't mean you can't have a Big Mac. Doesn't mean you can't, have a drink. It means that you are respectful within that. So, I like myself some McDonald's sometimes. So I'm not going to deny it. But that's not something I do often because that's not what I want in my system all the time. Again, I'm not talking about, needing to be on a strict diet or a strict workout regime. Although if that works for you, God bless you, and that's fine. I'll try not to hate you, but I'm talking about being mindful and kind to your physical needs every day, or at least as consistently as possible. Okay? So you've also got to get your mind in line. I'll talk about that in number 3 a little more, but let me just say that calming your mind is key to finding the space to, act, not react in situations, with different people and events in your life. There's nothing better and quicker than focusing on mindfulness and making it a daily habit. And what do I have for you? What do I have? You know what I have? The free mindfulness starter kit. You'll find it under the video if you're watching on YouTube right now. You will find it on the website under the shop page, and you will find it on either the blog post page for this or the podcast page for this. I have it everywhere. It is free. To be transparent, as I always am, whenever you download something free from me, it will put you on my weekly love letter list. If you like the podcast, if you enjoy me at all, you will absolutely love the weekly love letter. I do not sell you anything in that love letter. I do not bombard you with 50 emails in that love letter. Once a week, you will get something that is meant to be inspirational to you, that is meant to improve your life. That is it. If you don't like it, you can unsubscribe. I got a whole lot of people on that list. I will not notice. There will not be a black mark on your record. So no worries. But I really do want you to pay attention to your daily practice of feeling good in the world. And this is another way I'm able to do that by sending a love letter. So give it a try. Read one. See what you think. Okay. The other thing I do to keep my life feeling calm, right, and to help me put things in perspective is humor, is lightening the F up. Life does not need to be so heavy. I look for the joy and humor as often as possible, and I really encourage my clients to do the same. It is so much easier, and this is from the research, to bounce back when there's some lightness and humor in your world. Humor always helps keep things in perspective. For me, it helps me really feel differently in a given situation and be more resilient when the tough stuff comes. Get out of that all or nothing thinking or thinking the world is out to get you in some way. Please, the universe is too busy to try to trip you when you're walking to the kitchen, okay? It's not what's happening. So you know what I just thought of, and I'll make sure I link this too. I have on YouTube a good morning meditation that could be great to listen to, just to get yourself in the right frame of mind first thing in the morning. It's a little visualization. It's really not a meditation. It's more of a visualization. It's me talking the whole time because I know you love hearing my melodious voice. Who doesn't want to hear Abby talk? Everybody, right? No. Don't ask that to my kids or Gary. So I'm going to link though to the Good Morning Meditation also as I just want to give you tons of tools today for resilience. So that would be another thing you could do is do that for 1 week, just 1 week. 1 week. I think it's 5 minutes, something like that. It's not long. I'll tell you that right now. Okay. Number 3. So those are, connect, ways to build resilience. Number 2 was physical well-being. And number 3 is healthy thinking. Again, from the research. Again, calming your mind, as we just discussed, is great. But what happens next? Getting calm doesn't mean negative thoughts stop. In fact, sometimes when we're quiet, have you noticed this? Those thoughts get the loudest. That's why they often crop up at night right before you're falling asleep, because you're finally quiet and not doing 40 things. So you've also got to work on changing In the 12 steps, we say you're stinking thinking. So you can think of that. But you have to work on changing the way your negative talk goes. And there's one main tool I want to mention here because I spend a lot of time in a ton of other podcasts talking about how to be more in charge of your thinking, how to be more mindful, how to stop negative thoughts. I will link to all of those episodes, okay? I will link to all of them. For now, I want to single out learning to be more optimistic, okay? So, so let me talk about this. There's a Dr. Dennis Charning I want to talk about. During the course of his career studying resiliency, Dr. Dennis Charney, he's the dean of the Mount Sinai School of Medicine, or he was when I saw this research. He examined a large group of Vietnam War veterans who were prisoners of war from anywhere from 6 to 8 years. So do you think these people have more hardships than you? I'm going to guess so. I say with love. I know your life could really suck and you go through a lot, but you don't have to compare to other people's hardships. If they're hard for you, they're hard. I just mean to say that, because of course you might have something worse than this. What I do mean to say is that they're really looking at people who had it very, this research is people who had it very, very rough. And although these were all men, they survived, unspeakable torture and endured years in solitary confinement. Dr. Charney found that they were remarkably resilient, unlike so many other veterans. They didn't develop depression, anxiety, post-traumatic stress disorder after they were released, despite being under a level of extreme stress that I think most of us can't even imagine, can't even think about. So what was their secret? Charney and his colleagues they did extensive interviews and tests, and they were ultimately able to identify 10 characteristics that set these people apart, these men apart. And the top qualities were optimism, altruism, having a sense of humor, which I also mentioned, and having meaning in their lives. But optimism, far and away, was the most important, okay? Having a positive outlook, having this optimism is the most important predictor of resilience. Yeah, take that. So when things happen to you, you have an internal dialogue and you have a way of explaining events to yourself when something happens. It's what Martin Seligman at the University of Pennsylvania he's noted as kind of the father of optimism research. It's what he called explanatory styles, this way that we talk to ourselves in our heads all day. So for example, let's say you're brushing your teeth in the morning, toothpaste spills on your shirt. You might say to yourself, oh, I'm such a klutz. I'm always doing stuff like this. What's wrong with me, right? You might explain the toothpaste falling on your shirt in that way, which of course is very negative and mean to yourself. Or you might say to yourself, well, I guess I'll change into my blue shirt. That looks better on me anyway. See the difference? Same toothpaste falling on a shirt, but different ways to explain it to yourself, a different internal dialogue. So both of these are ways of explaining to yourself what happened with the toothpaste, but of course they're very different explanations, and so they affect your self-concept differently. Okay? So when I created this a long time ago, it's on it's on the shop page of my website. It's going to be underneath in all the places I just mentioned, underneath the video, everywhere else. I created a Learned Optimism Jumpstart workshop, and you need to set aside some time. It's a good hour of your time. Okay, it's a good hour of your time. But what it is it's Seligman's. It's his actual test. You can download the test from the workshop. I teach you how to score it. So I teach you all about optimism. It's like I have, I think, a little PowerPoint presentation with me talking, and I'm going to take you all through a training. I get paid to do this training places. Okay, I get paid to do this when I'm doing my paid speaking engagements. But this is free for you because I love you. I am trying to help you change your life, and not everyone has access to this. So you could take the test, you can score it, and I explain what the scoring means in there. And we know you can learn to be more optimistic. Seligman's books are phenomenal called, you guessed it, Learned Optimism, where you can also take the test in the book. Or you can, listen here and I explain ways, depending on how you score, to raise your optimism levels in certain areas. And I'll tell you, I love this test because it breaks down optimism into these explanatory styles. There's 3 of them that Seligman denotes from the research. And so what I like is that it's not like a broad brushstroke about, you are or aren't optimistic, because most people are optimistic in some situations and not in others. Most people are not across the board pessimistic in everything. Some are, but most are not, or across the board optimistic. I also explain how extreme optimism is not healthy, just like extreme pessimism isn't. I explain how sometimes being a little more pessimistic is a good thing, but again, how is it working for you? How is it not? That's where I really get into it. I want to highly encourage you to take some time, to set aside some time, maybe do it with your partner. It's always fun to take a test, isn't it? Take the test, score it, see where you are. And it could be really cool to do with your partner or a friend or somewhere to really and share the scores, and see how you differ or where you're the same, and where as a couple maybe, or as in a friendship, how you might support each other differently. Okay. And then number 4 is meaning. The 4th way to be more resilient, right? Last but not least, if you want to be more resilient, you've got to find some meaning in your world. Obviously, helping others and volunteering is an easy way to get this job done. When I'm upset, nothing helps me get my head out of my ass more than helping other people. I feel so grateful to do this podcast. I get into this head. I see you, just so you know, I'm talking right to you. I do a whole little thing for myself before so I can really speak to you and just feel that relationship with you, which I think you feel too. That's why you're here with me. I mean, talk about a quick way to put things into perspective and stop taking yourself and your life so seriously. Is right. There's always bigger fish to fry when we have meaning, when we're doing for others, when we're putting ourselves out there. So, and I want to say, it doesn't mean that you don't feel bummed or hurt or angry or upset. It means you don't wallow in it. You can feel all the feels. I feel all the feels. I'm with you. And you can really go there. But then it's time to reframe a bit. Finding meaning for what's happening is an important way to bounce back from it, to have resilience. The meaning might be something spiritual or religious for you. It's God's will, or change is a constant in the universe. If saying these kinds of mantras to yourself helps put things into perspective, then keep doing that. I'm all for it. For other people, those kind of statements feel like BS platitudes. So for you, maybe I would say to ask yourself, what am I learning here? Right? I want you to assume this happened for a reason. It might not be a reason you like, but a reason nonetheless. What can you take away from what happened? What can you leave feeling better, not bitter? If you haven't listened to my episode on cognitive reframing yet, it's absolutely time that you do. This will help you go deep on the how of changing your thinking and perspective and finding meaning. This will help you go there. Again, I'm going to link. The links will be in all the places I've already mentioned a few times in the podcast. They'll already be in all those places, that link. I think the episode is like how to overcome your inner critic and silence your inner critic or something. But anyway, it'll be in the resource section. Steve Jobs has this really famous commencement speech at Stanford. And he said, you can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backward. So you have to trust that the dots will somehow connect in your future. You have to trust in something, your gut, destiny, life, karma, whatever, right? And I love that quote because I think it's really true. Resilient people have confidence that they can get through the tough times or whatever conflict can come up. So they're less stressed. They're able to be more vulnerable in relationships. This means they have more intimacy. They have more emotional closeness with their friends, their families, their partners. I mean, again, it really shows up in such huge, enormous ways. So, is that all I want to say? Abby, is that all you want to say on this topic? I think it is. Because you know me, I could talk forever, but I think I've made my points. I've given you the 4 ways to be more resilient from the research. I have given you little specific things to do within each way to get good at each way. And you don't have to take on all 4 at once. Maybe for the next 4 weeks, do one thing in each category. I don't, however you want to do that, but do it. Please do it. This is something you can work on that can profoundly, profoundly change your life. Take the time to take the Optimism quiz. Do everything I'm laying out. Listening is great. I'm so happy you're here, watching me on YouTube, whatever, reading. That's all wonderful. But if you don't do some action, you're going to be full of knowledge without a behavior change. And that can be even more frustrating than not having the knowledge. So I'm here for you to change your life. I put in so much work every week to every single one of these because I believe in you. I know I've seen the miracles. My client, 40 years of this, I know it works. I know it works. I need you to know it, and I need you to take the action. I can only bring you so far. I can only take you so far. You have to take the next steps. And that's why I have all these free options to take those next steps, because I want you to do it. Okay? Was that enough Jewish mother bossiness for you today? Did I have just the right blend of my controlling craziness? I love you so much. I believe in you if no one has said that this week. I absolutely, absolutely do. I am sending so much hope, love, connection your way. And I want you to have a truly amazing week. All right. And we'll talk real soon.